It's a great pleasure to be in front of you all, and I am operating on 2 cylinders today. I recently came back from Australia and I'm suffering 25 hours worth of jet lag. So I feel like I'm at the back end of last week. It is the way of our Mashayikh that we commence any gathering with the durood and the salawat on Nabi al-Kareem Rahmatul Alameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I want you to elevate your hearts and elevate your tongues by reciting this durood. And I want to share with you 2 hadith mubarak of in this regard. And I always have to share this, because whenever I ask the audience to recite salawat, they're half asleep. But there's a certain reality, there's a certain haqiqah to the salawat, which we don't appreciate. Because salawat to us now is lip service. We just do it because our parents did it. We just do it because Imam Sahib tells us to do it. But there is a haqq within the salawat. And the 2 hadiths I want to narrate. The Prophet ﷺ informs us that my living is a mercy for you, and my dying is a mercy for you. And in my grave I see all of the actions of my ummah. And when I see something good, I praise it. And when I see something bad, I ask Allah Almighty to forgive it. And the second hadith mubarak of the Prophet ﷺ is that when an individual sends salam upon me, Allah Almighty returns my ruh to my body to return the salam. So, I want to establish 3 points of certitude. The first is that Nabi al-Kareem Rahmatul Alameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he sees your salam. He hears your salam and he replies to your salam. So it is the way of our Mashayikh that we begin any gathering in this manner. So please, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim wa salli alayhi. ummatis of Nabi al-Kareem Rahmatul lil Alameen sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and who bestowed upon us that great honor of being from amongst Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat. And this is the essence of my topic today, because we have a lot of fitna in this day and age. We have a lot of fitna, where it is of twofold. We either have one part of the playing field saying that we are bid'atis, kuffar, mushrik, and then we have the other side of the field saying that it doesn't matter what sect you are, what group you're from, and we should all just be friends and get along now. We should all just get along. And these are two extremes. And the Ahlus Sunnah, we take the middle way. But I want to start on a discourse of Hidayah. What is Hidayah? What is Hidayah? You see, are you all guided, yes or no? Oh dear. I don't know. Are we all guided, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Are we all guided, yes or no? Yes. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
But if we're all guided, in thinking, in reflection, I always think, if we're all guided, why is it in our Surah Al-Fatiha, do we read, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. You get guidance to the Sirat al-Mustaqim. But we're all guided. We are all guided. So why do we read this? I mean, if you went to Haji Sahib and the Muslim said, Haji Sahib, and Haji Sahib, gave Walaikum Salam. He said, Haji Sahib. I mean, this is Haji Sahib. He prays all of his namaz in the masjid. He's done Hajj 3 or 4 times. He's done Umrah 5 times. He's got a beard. He's white in the hair. He's 70. He's a proper Babaji. Yeah, if you said to him, you guided, the guy would take his chappal off and give it to you. And rightly so. It's disrespectful, isn't it? But if we were all automatically guided, why would we read Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim? Guide us to the straight path. Now, there is a verse, I admit that being on 2 cylinders, I unfortunately left the latter part of the verse off in my opening khutbah. And there are 3 types of hidayah. How many types of hidayah?
3.
You see, I like communication. You see, unfortunately, you have certain, illa mashallah, great awliya who can communicate psychically. But I'm just a jack the lad, so I can't hear you at all. So if I ask a question, don't assume I know the answer. How many types of hidayah are there? 3 types. There is hidayati amma. Hidayati amma. Hidayati khasa and hidayati akhas. Have you heard of these before? No? Hidayati amma is a general hidayah. It comes from the word am, which is to be general. And everyone has this form of hidayah. Everyone has it. Jews have it, Christians have it, Ghair Muslimin have it. And Allah bestows this hidayah upon everyone. So for example, when a child wants food, as a little baby, what does it do? Cries. If a child wants to, take in air, he breathes. But where does all this come from? What is this? Non-Muslims are still alive and walking around today. Are they doing that by virtue of their own power? No. Allah Almighty gives them that. And this is Hidayati Amma. And Allah says, قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. That I have created everything and I have guided it. I created everything and guided it. This is hidayati am. Then we have hidayati khasa. Now this hidayah, you see a guy walking down the road, and you say to him, oh so and so, say la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And he says la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. He enters the deen. This is hidayati khasa. Khas being specific.
MashaAllah.
So he's entered the deen. Hidayati amma, everybody has it, general hidayah. Hidayati khasa, they enter the deen. And the verse of the Quran which I like to use for this is when Allah Almighty, it's a very beautiful verse, especially for the people of Haqq. And I want to talk about, you see, today, the topic why Ahlus Sunnah, it's not a bad topic, but I would rather talk to you, and I'm glad I'm not chasing the topic, I don't want to make the organisers worry, but I would rather talk to you about proving Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat from the Quran. From me? Do you see? I'm going to prove it from the Quran. People use the sayings of the ulama, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but you don't need these things. We can prove it from Al-Quran and Kareem. So the next verse I want to talk about is related to hidayati. I'm testing if you're all awake. Listen, if I got jet lag for 25 hours and I've just travelled from near Scotland for 4.5 hours to speak to you, do not expect me to let you off when I ask you a question and you sit there looking like you're on trial for murder. I'm going to grill you tonight. Alright? So I kid you not. I'm an interactive person. So firstly, start smiling. Yeah, I don't understand why Muslims are so upset with their lives. Yeah? What have you got to complain about, innit? Start smiling. Secondly, start answering. Hidayati khasa. Allah educates us. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. Allah is the friend of all of the believers. MashaAllah. Allah is the wali of all the believers. And the term used here is amanu. Now amanu comes from the word iman. Iman. Now I'm going to come back to this verse later because it's an important verse when discussing who is on the haqq. But for now, I just want to explain that hidayati khasa is specific. But then we have hidayati akhas.
Subhanallah.
But what is hidayati akhas? And we've got hidayati amma, we've got hidayati khasa. What is hidayati akhas? Hidayati akhas is that guidance to the ultimate objective.
Subhanallah.
To the ultimate objective. Yani ma'rifatullah.
Subhanallah.
And there's a verse of Surah Duha. It's amazing. The Salafis use this verse to do Gustaqi Rasul. We use this verse to demonstrate how much in love Rasulullah is. And Allah educates us. وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. Now they say that this means that the Prophet, when A'udhu Billah, he was guided by Allah. He was misguided and then he was guided when Allah was believed. But we don't accept this. This verse to us does not mean that. We understand this verse to mean that Nabi al-Kareem he was lost in the love of Allah Almighty. He was so engrossed in Allah Almighty's love, he was lost in it. And Allah brought him to his purpose. Allah brought him to that objective that he was sent to be a Nabi. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Allahu Akbar. Ya Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah.
So this is hidayati akhas, the ultimate objective, yani the engrossment in the love of Allah Almighty. And we see another example of this hidayati akhas in a well-oft recited story. You hear this many times, but you see, why are things narrated in Al-Quran? Are they narrated to be a jackanory? Are they narrated so that you can get your kids to bed early on at night and you can tell them a story? No! The rivayat of the Quran are there for hikmah. They are there for us to do fiqh upon them, to reflect. So there's an often recite verse, and again, where the Wahhabis use this to do the gustaq of Rasulullah, we use this to praise Rasulullah. This is the difference between us and them. Wherever they find an excuse to do gustaf, we find an excuse to elevate and extol. This is the sign of Ahlus Sunnah. We use Quran and Sunnah to make our hearts beat to the name of Nabi al-Kareem. But they use Quran and Sunnah to find flaws with him, to negate him, to bring him down. And they dare say that they're on the haqq. I mean, it's rather common sensual. But anyway, Allah Almighty. Angel Gyariwi is the cave of Hira. The cave of Hira. Rasulullah, such was his rank, his maqam, that he would go to the cave of Hira for 2 weeks, and Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, she would give him supplies for 2 weeks. And she narrates that he would come back, and the supplies, he would not touch the supplies. Why? Because Allah Almighty gave the sustenance to his people. And in this cave he would do fikr upon the world, and he would engage in the ibadah of his Lord. And Angel Gyariwi descended whilst he was doing this ibadah. Now, if you pray salah and an angel descended in front of you, you'd be like this. The angel would descend and Subhanallah. You wouldn't think twice to break your salah. This amazing thing is just when an angel has descended. You wouldn't think twice to break your salah. But look at this incident between Nabi al-Kareem and Angel Gyariwi alayhi salam. Angel Gyariwi descends. And he says to Rasulullah, Allah narrates, Iqara. Recite. It doesn't mean read, by the way. Iqara does not mean read. It means recite. And I'm going to go on a side point in a moment. But it means, it doesn't mean, it means, I'm going to wake you up. I promise you, Allah ni qasam, I'm going to wake you up. Serious, I'm going to go in an hour. I will have you wide awake before your longer Shareef. Now, Iqra means recite. So this is Iqra. And the Prophet ﷺ replied, Ma ana biqari'. And Angel Gyariwi again recited, Iqra. And again Rasulullah said, Ma ana biqari'. Subhanallah. And again Angel Gyariwi recited, Iqra. But once again Rasulullah ﷺ recited, Ma ana biqari'. And then Angel Gyariwi recited, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. And then Rasulullah recited. So as a side point, these dodgy buggers, what do they say? Ma ana biqari'. Wa na'udhu billah, I am illiterate. Astaghfirullah. Honestly, these people, I need to be careful what I say. If I break the law, I get arrested. Really frustrating people. Ma'ana biqari means I am illiterate. Astaghfirullah. They say he could not read and write based upon this incident. What a load of nonsense. A common sense point. When was the Quran made into a mushaf? It was in the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Then it was formulated into the Uthmani mushaf in the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu. But when this verse was revealed, Iqra, there was no book. So, what was there to read? Do you understand the point? If there wasn't a book, how can they say he couldn't read? There wasn't a book to read. That's why it doesn't mean Iqra. Does not mean read. It comes from the word qara'a, to recite. And the word Quran shares its same roots, because the Quran means to recite. It was never a book. It was revealed to recite. Another example, when Allah Almighty says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. That is a book wherein there is no doubt. People think this means the Quran. It doesn't mean the Quran, because the Quran was not a book. And ذَلِكَ is distant. Yani if you want to talk about, okay, look, in Arabic, if I want to imply distance, I say ذَلِكَ. If I want to imply nearness, I say هذا. ذلك شجر هذا الإنان. And then if I want to talk about someone who's in front of me, I say يا ذلك هذا يا. See the difference? ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. That is a book where there is no doubt. What does it refer to? It refers to Lawh Mahfuz. That book where there is no doubt. So they say he could not read, but there wasn't a book for him to read. And furthermore, does not mean I cannot read. Angel Jibreel alayhi salam, he descended, and when he read this verse of the Quran, he disturbed the ibadah from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He disturbed the ibadah from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Angel Jibreel said, Iqra, he said, Ma ana biqari, yani, I am not a reader. Not I cannot read, I do not read. In other words, with the greatest of respect, I'm here doing the ibadah of Allah Almighty. You can go and find a reader elsewhere. If you need someone to recite for you, go away. I'm not going to break my ibadah. And again this happened until he said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Iqra bismi rabb, in the name of your Lord. And that's when Rasulullah began to recite. Why? Because all of a sudden, before the recital, it was for the sake of Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. Recite for me. But when he says Iqra bismi rabb, it's not for Angel Jibreel, it's for Allah Almighty. And then he realized that's when Rasulullah will recite. Why? Because it's now ibadah, it's part of that relationship. Why? What does this demonstrate? This incident demonstrates hidayati akhas. Why? Because Rasulullah is in a state of fana with Allah Almighty. That is the ultimate state. That is the ultimate state. Hidayati akhas. And this is what we should all strive for. And when we read Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, we are not asking for Hidayati Amma. We are not asking for Hidayati Khasa. We are asking for Hidayati Akhas. So, who is on the haqq? Everyone follows. Look. Let me just start off on a point, right? Because these Salafis, they're very clever. Yeah, they're very clever people. They say, we follow the Quran and Sunnah. But, brothers, we all follow Quran and Sunnah. If someone came up to you with the Vedas or the Bible and said, bro, we follow the Bible and the Sunnah, he'd say he was a Jew. Man, you call him a Bible. You see, everyone follows Quran and Sunnah, but the point is, who has the correct understanding of Quran and Sunnah? Who has the correct understanding? That's the dispute. That is the dispute. But you see, remember the verse I read to you for Hidayati Khasa. There is an implication to that verse. There is an implication to that verse. And I'm going to use this verse as a basis, especially because it's the Gyariwi Shareef of Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. You see, we all debate. We play ping pong with Dalail on Facebook. Where are the youth? Stop debating on Facebook. See, many ulama, many classical scholars of this religion have written hundreds, thousands of books upon how the Ahlus Sunnah is haq. We don't need some kid who's not even gone into puberty start arguing with people on Facebook. You understand? Debating is not for any old Jack the lad. Even the ulama, most ulama are not qualified to debate. Ala Hazrat in Al-Nufuz, rahimahullah, he writes that to debate, the requirement you need to debate is you must have mastered all of the ulum of the deen. Every Islamic science you must have mastered. First point. Second requirement, you must have all of your books and all of the books of the Ahlus Sunnah. And you must be well familiar with them so you can just quote them whenever you require. And then what does he say? The third point. He says, even if you have the first 2 points, do not debate. Avoid dispute debate. People say that Ala Hazrat rahimahumullah, he was an extremist when he was strict, he was too far. Let me tell you categorically, when he was writing for 19 years to Ashraf Ali Thanvi asking him to do tawbah, that is not extreme. In the day and age we live, if an alim is caught on a photo doing something, we make takfir without even asking him. Ala Hazrat for 19 years wrote to Ashraf Ali Thanvi. Do you see the difference between people now and himself? He was not an extremist at all. He knew, he had the correct understanding of usul and funun and adab and akhlaq of this deen. And this is why he tells you, even if you have all of these things, don't debate. In our day and age, everyone is munazir Islam. Everyone is munazir Islam. I mean, so many munazirs on Facebook, I'm overwhelmed. With their cut and paste Google articles. Youth, we don't need you to defend Ahlus Sunnah. It's been done and dusted. The book on who is on haqq is closed. It's just we live in a day and age now where we don't like to read anymore. It's all about the iPhone. It's all about the computer. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, all these silly games. This is what it's about now. We don't like to read. We don't like to read. If you were to read, you'd realize this book has been sealed and done with many hundreds of years ago. So, the verse of Hidayat Khasa, Allah Almighty educates us. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. That Allah is the friend to all of the believers. The word used here is amanu. Amanu comes from the word iman. It comes from the word iman. What is iman? Can everyone have iman, yes or no? But if you say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, everyone who says that, do they have iman, yes or no? No, they do not. For example, have you heard of the story of Masjidi Dar? Masjidi? Have you heard of it, yes or no? Within this, so some of you have, some of you haven't. There was a masjid in Saudi called Masjidi Dar in the time of Rasulullah. And in that masjid were people with big beards, skinheads, and they would do the ibadat of Allah Almighty all the way through the night. They would read this Qiyamul Layl all the way through the night. They would be in a constant state of ibadah. But do you know why Masjid Dar is famous? Because it was that masjid which Rasulullah instructed to be burned to the ground. But it was filled with people who said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It was filled with people who had big beards and skinheads and did the ibadah to Allah Almighty. But you see, and this is an important point to understand, Amal is based upon Aqidah. Amal, there is no Amal without Sahih Aqa'id. This is why, let me give you an example of a controversial issue. Can you pray behind deviant ulama? Now there are certain ulama who try to assert that there is an ikhtilaf. But you see, for the awam, you are Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat. So you follow the majority view. When you start introducing minority views, even if it's by a valid classical Sunni alim, when you start introducing minority views, it causes confusion. Who do the awam follow? What view is actually correct? But the rule is that for the awam, you follow majority view. The majority view is that forget amal. Yani forget aqidah. If someone is a fasiq in amal, fasiq in mu'lim, if he is a fasiq in his action, yani if you see your imam sahib drinking alcohol or a scholar drinking alcohol, or if you see a scholar doing XYZ and then he goes to lead you in namaz, and he hasn't done tawbah for that public sin, he is a fasiq in mu'lim. Salah behind him, you would have to repeat your salah. And that is amal. What is greater, amal or aqidah? Amal or aqidah, which is greater? Aqidah. You see, aqidah comes from the root word aqdun, which means to knot, to tie. Why do the ulama use this word for Islamic belief? Because your Islamic belief should be tied like a knot. It should be firm. And what is the objective of a knot? How many of you tie your shoelaces? If you tied your shoelace wrong, what would happen to the shoe? It would fall off your foot, isn't it? In the same way, if your Islamic beliefs are wrong, your Islam, your Iman will fall from you. That's how serious Aqidah is. In fiqh, you have an insurance policy. It's called taqleed. You can follow Imam Azim radiallahu anh. This is your insurance policy. But there is no insurance policy for Aqidah. It's fardul ayn that you learn Aqa'id. You have to know it. If you don't know it in your grade, you will be answerable. And some Aqa'id, if you get it wrong, it makes you a deviant. It makes you an innovator. It makes you a muqtadir. But some Aqa'id, if you get it wrong, it makes you a kafir. You see the importance of learning Aqidah. So if Aqidah is more important than Amal, and the majority view of the ulama is that if someone is a fasiq in Amal, you can't read behind them. What then if you're a fasiq in your Aqa'id? And then people get a bit emotional. What about Makkah, Medina, blah 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 blah. Look, the point I'm trying to make is quite straightforward. Amal is based on Aqidah. Do we all agree? Yes. Do we all agree? Yes. Would you read behind me if I told you I didn't have wudu?
No. Unless you did. You wouldn't, would you? No. The very first criteria for wudu is that the aqa'id is right. If you have no aqidah, you have no wudu. How can you read behind someone who's not even wudu? You see? Just a common sense point. So you can't pray behind it. If you do, because you want to say in Makkah, Medina, you want to avoid fitna, you repeat your salah. That's the majority view. Yes, there are minor views. Some people have said it's makruh tanzihi, you don't need to repeat. But the majority view, as far as you're concerned, is repeat. Do you get it? That's because aqa'id is very, very important. And this is why I've come to talk to you about this today. So, amanu, sorry, I sort of went off on a tangent there. Amanu comes from the word iman. And iman is only established when you have the correct. You see? See how it all links together as a nice little package. But what is Allah saying? Listen carefully. Allahu waliyul. Listen carefully. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. That Allah is the friend of the believers. Now this is walayati amma. This is, what does am mean? General. Walayat is the friendship of Allah Almighty. So this is walayati amma. General walayat. You may be starting, the quote may be starting to tick as to what the proof is of haqq in this deen. But if not, we're getting there. This is walayati amma. Now, then there is another verse which Mufti Sahib beautifully recited. And this is walayati khasa. You see, if you're in Ahlus Sunnah, you're all friends of Allah Almighty. But that doesn't mean you can start charging 50 quid for a ta'weez. Actually, I better tell you a joke now that I made that. Ijazat, can I share this joke with them, Maulana?
Absolutely.
There was a Pir Sahib in Bradford, right? You know Bradford? Yeah, you don't know Bradford. How come you don't know Bradford? There's a Pir Sahib in Bradford, and he advertises to people, I got a ta'weez that will stop the speed cameras going off. So all the taxi drivers were queuing outside his door. £500 a pop. £500. So this taxi driver, bombing it through Bradford, speed camera flashes in, he says, astaghfirullah, ta'weez doesn't work. Goes back to the Pir Sahib, and the Pir Sahib, ta'weez didn't work. And the Pir Sahib goes, my brother, let me look into it. So he closes his eyes, you know, as they do these charlatans. Okay. I know what the problem is. The taxi driver, what is the Pir Sahib? It was the ta'weez is fine. It was with someone's in jail in your car. But don't worry, I got a ta'weez for that. £500, please. Because this is the culture we live in, isn't it? You got a back problem, ta'weez. You got a flat tire, your auntie's done jaddu on your car, ta'weez. Huh? Your kids are misbehaving, ta'weez. Your newborn baby ain't going to stop crying, ta'weez. The greatest ta'weez is sharia. So you get the greatest ta'weez. We just got this culture. There's people who walk around out there, they have so many ta'weez, they've got them all on a chain. They can say, oh, this one's for my back, this one's for my eyesight, this one's for my hair, this one's for when I'm too short, this one's when I get angry. 50 ta'weez, each one costing them an arm and a leg. There's probably more money in the ta'weez around their neck than there is the gold on their fingers. Now I'm talking about the sister seat, so to mention me wearing gold.
Allahu.
I have a friend who once received a marriage proposal from a man who was posing in a big golden ring. She said to him, do you pay zakat on that? But anyway, I'm in a joking mood today. So, amanu, based upon iman. Iman can't be established without sahih aqidah. So then there's walayati khasa. ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون ألا إن أولياء الله. Beware, these are the friends of Allah Almighty. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. They do not fear, nor do they grieve. This is these great personalities who are the close friends of Allah Almighty. The close friends of Allah Almighty. So how is it you can identify who is on the haqq. Because I told you, what was the guarantee I made to you at the very beginning? That I would only use the Quran. You've forgotten. I mean, okay, I let the elders off. It's getting late. But the young lads who are sat there, I said I would only use the Quran. So I only intended to use the Quran. If you want to find the haqq, the only discernible way to find the haqq is to find the awliya. Wherever the awliya exists, the haqq exists. And it's amazing because from Hazrat Ali Karamallahu Wajhal Kareem, he made a certain statement. And even the Shia narrate this as Sahih. They narrate it as Sahih. Now everything Sunnis narrate, the Shia say it's mawdu', it's fabricated. But even they narrate this hadith of Hazrat Ali Karamallahu Wajhal Kareem as Sahih. And he said some words. And Hazrat Ali is the great leader of the awliya. And what did he say? He said, Ana min Ahle Sunnah. I am from Ahle Sunnah. And every wali from his time to our time, what has highlighted every single one of them? They have all said, Ana min Ahle Sunnah. And you see these Salafis, they love Ibn Taymiyyah. Fine, alright, no problem. They love Ibn Taymiyyah. You know Ibn Taymiyyah. He is one of their key sources of reference. They love him. But it just so happens that Ibn Taymiyyah loved someone himself. Who did he love? Wolfsburg. People don't realize this. Ibn Taymiyyah was a Qadri. Honestly, any Wahhabis who watch this, they'll be pulling out their beards. Ibn Taymiyyah was a Qadri. And he praised Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jalani. They talk about the ilm al-ghayb of Nabi al-Kareem rahmatul al-alamin alayhi salatu was-salam. Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jalani radiyallahu an. That individual who said that his rank is less than a piece of dust on the horse upon which a Sahabi has sat. Can you imagine the rank of the master of the Ashab? But he said, I am less than that piece of dust that has been upon the horse upon which a Sahabi has sat. He wrote a book which was called Futtatul Ghayb, his revelations of the unseen. This is the ilm al-ghayb of Allah. Such was his rank. He said, if I was to tell a person in the grave my secret, they would come to life and meet the grave. That was his rank, that was his maqam. And none other than Ibn Taymiyyah wrote a sharh, a commentary on this book, accepting all of the contents within it. You can buy this. You should buy it. Next time they come around your house, show it to them. You see, the awliya are the haqq. And this is the beautiful thing about Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat that no one else has. The Salafiyah, they say that the verses pertaining to the awliya in the Quran al-Kareem, they are mutashabihat. We don't know what they mean, we don't know what they can mean. But we know who the awliya are. Why? Because those great auspicious personalities who were blessed with the spiritual inheritance of Nabi al-Kareem, those noble people, there were certain individuals from amongst them whose maqam was so great that Allah Almighty granted them the ability and the permission to announce their wilayah. For example, Mujaddid Imam al-Suyuti rahimahullah, he himself writes, I am the Mujaddid of this century. I am the Mujaddid of this century. Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jalani, who said that my feet are on the shoulders of all of the awliya. My feet are on the shoulders. And the awliya, they replied, no, Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jalani. Your feet are not on our shoulders, they are on our foreheads. And we have these noble people. So whenever you look to your aqa'id, I appreciate that we live in a day and an age of confusion. I appreciate that we live in a day and an age where you don't know where to turn. You don't know who to believe. mass confusion, mass dalala, mass misguidance. But rest assured, you can be sure of the haqq. Why? Because the haqq is where the awliya karam are. And if you look at the aqidah of the awliya is the same aqidah of Mujaddid al-Deen, Mujaddid al-Millat, Mujaddid al-Maslak, Imam Ahmad al-Fakham Bareilly. I was beautifully reading one of the works of Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu. He starts, and in his opening khutbah, he praises Nabi al-Kareem, and he narrates the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah first created my light. And Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jalani comments on this in his khutbah, and he says that the first thing Allah Almighty created was the nur of His beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So these beliefs that we have, these basis for our aqa'id, they are not the thing, they are not the species of innovation, they are not the species of dalala. And I assure you that you are upon the haqq. Why? Because even in this day and age, they are awliya. Even in this day and age, they are the murshideen. And these are the people who will guide. So what are they guided to? You see, hidayati akhas, or the ashab, how was that attained? It was attained through the sohbah of Rasulullah. Through the sohbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But we don't have that sohbah in this day and age. But how do we therefore attain hidayati akhas? We attain hidayati akhas from those people who have attained hidayati akhas. And who are those people? They are the awliya. And this is why people say to me, I want to find a wali, help me find a wali, or have you got a murshid? Who is your murshid? Is your murshid a wali? Rumi, rahimahullah, he says something very beautiful, very poetic. He says, only a wali can recognize a wali. So I said to you, have you got any doctors in the audience? Put your hands up. Any doctors? Any doctors? I hope we don't have a heart attack. Okay, we're safe. There's a doctor in the audience. If I said to you today, I'm a doctor, and I'm going to wrap up now because I appreciate time is getting on. If I said to you I was a doctor, this doctor sir would only have to come up to me and ask me a few questions, and he would realize I'm a fraud. In the same way, we live in a day and age of gimmickry. We live in a day and age where we have people who are openly fasiq who are calling themselves peer. We live in a day and age where we have murideen who are so jahil that they can't even wipe their backside properly. We live in a day and age where people are so jahil that they don't appreciate that ilm al-sharia comes before ilm al-tasawwuf. This is why Imam al-Shafi radiallahu anhu tells us, if you seek the knowledge of tasawwuf without sharia, you will be misguided. And if you have the knowledge of sharia without tasawwuf, you are dead. We have to have that balance. But we live in a day and age where it's all about gimmickry. It's about the size of my tasbih. It's about the size of my pugri. It's about wearing a certain colour shawl. It's about dancing to Qawwali wa na'udhu billah. It's about getting people in, we have so many problems within Ahlus Sunnah. Are you surprised that you're losing your youth? May I be frank? Are you surprised you're losing your youth? We have so many issues we need to contend with. Whether it's the fact that our elders, may Allah bless them, can't remove themselves from certain cultural aspects which contradict the deen and which put the youth on. Or whether it's the fact that we've got so many peer sabs now that you can get a ta'weez from every corner shop in Birmingham. It's the fact that we have no real essence of ruhaniyat anymore. We have no real essence of spirituality. This is why Ahlus Sunnah are now on the back foot. Because we as a community have allowed this disease to grow. I've been in, and may Allah reward our Naatquan. May Allah elevate them, those who are sincere in their work. But you will pay £2,000 for a Naatquan to read for 10 minutes. But you will only pay £50 for an alim. One word of an alim is greater than all of the naat of any Naatquan. Yet what is the value you give to the ulama? Why do you allow this to happen in your communities? And this is a very controversial thing to say, and no doubt some Facebook mufti will pass a fatwa kufr on you for it. But we have to come away from this culturally backward way of thinking. And we have to move forward as Ahlus Sunnah. No more gimmickry, no more fakery, no more charlatanism. We have to move forward now. We have to become people of academia. We have to become people of knowledge. We have to become people of taqwa. We have to become people of amal. Stop saying you love the Prophet ﷺ and start loving the Prophet ﷺ. Stop pretending and start doing. Your words are one thing, but your actions are another. If you truly love the Prophet ﷺ, look at yourself and question yourself. You can't have a ghost and wobbler for not loving him and doing his good stuff when you yourself don't even pray salah. You see, we have to open our eyes, because these are the true functions of the awliya. They guide people to the sharia and they allow people to embody the sharia. So if you have murshids, any of you, and I know many youth who have murshids, they honestly don't know the fara'id of wudu, and they have a murshid. It's ridiculous. Tasawwuf is not a club. Tasawwuf is not what's the word I'm looking for? Tasawwuf is not a clique, a little club where you go with all your mates and you read a few tasbih. Tasawwuf is not about a uniform. Tasawwuf is not about a certain nara. Tasawwuf is about the embodiment and the personification of the sharia of Rasulullah. Understand? This is tasawwuf. So if you want to start proving that haqq of Ahlus Sunnah, then I urge all of you, become walking embodiments of sharia. Become walking embodiments of tasawwuf. Stop this sunnah kulliyat where we say let's just be friends, because if you don't have the knowledge to debate, don't debate. But don't start misguiding people by saying, oh no, let's all just be friends. Just because you don't understand the ikhtilaf that exists between the different sects, don't get involved. Because if I was to tell you what the true difference is, Mawlid, Khatam, Gyariwi, Esa, these things are not what differ us from the Wahhabiyyin. I tell you that now. These are what we call fiqh musla. They're fiqh, they're not even aqidah. But they use these things to distract. These are not the issues. If I was to tell you what differed us from them, you would fall off your chairs, but you're not sat on chairs. So you'd lay down and be shocked. But you don't know, and there's a reason that the ulama don't go into these things, because it may misguide you. So please, stop being extreme. Be at where we are at, and may Allah give us over tawfiq to embody the sharia, to personify true tasawwuf. Thank you for listening, and I pray that Allah Almighty forgive me mistakes. I humbly ask all of your forgiveness. As I said, I really am only on 2 cylinders today. Please forgive me if you were perhaps expecting something different and I haven't been able to come to your expectations. May Allah reward your patience for listening to me, and may we all be granted tawfiq to act upon these few humble words. Jazakallahu khairan, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. My honorable brothers, sisters, ulama, assalamu alaikum.